Hello everyone and welcome to Lush and Salty Aquariums. My name is Stefan and thank you for coming to the channel. Alright, Elmo told me the other day that I haven't done a Fishroom tour video in about a month, so that's what we're going to attempt to do this evening. Hopefully Elmo will sit in my chair and be a good little actor for us. That's Elmo, he's a Morky. Anyway, not about dogs, about the fish. Stay on point, Stefan. I just did a cleaning on a number of these aquariums, as well as some maintenance on an issue I was having with a filter. And I'm delighted to report that the filter, the Oase Thermo Biomaster 350 down there, that was powering this particular aquarium, has been repaired, and now, you hear that? Neither do I. It's quiet. I spent an inordinate amount of time and research trying to sort that out, but I was able to figure it out, and we have a quiet filter now. I might do a video discussing some of the things I did to remedy that issue, and if you would like that, let me know and I'll do it. Those videos tend not to do so well for me. Maybe it's because only a handful of you have that particular issue, and if you search for that issue, then the video is very useful. But for the majority of people, they just want to see all these cool aquariums. And honestly, when I go to your channels, unless I'm researching a specific issue, I just want to see your wonderful aquariums too. Oh, there's Elmo, he's moving. First tank then, freshly trimmed. I just did some stuff about this on the fish tubes. You can see the nice cut I put over that Pogostemon octopus. I left the atra, the Rotala atra, intact. It's slower growing than this Pogostemon or the Lemonphilia sessiflora, which I also cut back. Maybe not as perfectly as that, but I didn't do anything to the center plant because I want to keep as much of that red highlight as possible. And you see how it captures the red from the vertical piece of dragonstone and this fabulous crypt whose name escapes me. It's relatively common, but it gets that crinkly look. That's not a nutrient deficient leaf, that's just its type. It's what it does, and it's so cool and so pretty. So this center tank, that kind of flow from back to front, is got the red in this aquarium. I mean, there's some here and there and everywhere. I'm looking at you, Bloody Mary shrimp. See that? See how red it is compared to the longfin white or albino Coreodora? Striking color contrast. But so those plants are doing pretty well for me. And then I've got the row of epiphytes, the Anubias, Bucephalandra, moving different types. That's the petite. That looks like a, I don't know, Barteri, Coffeola. I'm not sure, honestly. I, look at Anubias as just in terms of leaf shape and size, and they all other than that, they pretty much function the same. Anubias petite's one of my favorites because of how compact it gets. Look at the three Cories just sort of having a powwow, chilling, looking at the Anubias, and there's a fourth one. Then I have crypts on either side, and this really cool carpet of dwarf sage and hair grass. This tank has a Chihiro's RGB Slim, a terrific light, and the app really is cool. Some people say it can be tricky to get going, and I can be a fool when it comes to tech, but I did not have a problem, and I could do all sorts of things to adjust the light, but I haven't lately because I'm getting good results. The filter in this sleek Oase kit, it didn't come with the filter, but I have my Splurge filter in here. That's not the brand name, that's what I did. And I bought a ADA Superjet one of their stainless steel canisters. It costs a ton, and it's beautiful looking, and we're not seeing it, so maybe I didn't need to spend the money on it. But it's whisper quiet and performs like a champ, and I'm pretty happy with it, maybe very happy with it. I haven't had an issue in 2 years with that filter. I run CO2 in this tank and I use a UNS mini regulator, which I highly recommend. Such a great product for the price and for what it does. And I use a paintball sized canister to deliver the CO2 to this fish tank. I have emerged growth, pothos, and a variegated pink-leafed plant, which is really common. I got that at Petco. They now sell sort of terrarium, paludarium plants, and I just grabbed one and figured I would stick it in the back of one of my tanks, which is what I did, and it's doing very well. And there's the fun wallpaper. The vintage matchbooks featuring aquarium fish. Those are from Great Britain. I had them framed. I found them on Etsy. And a Victorian print of our fabulous hobby during its earliest going. Somebody found inspiration and created that plate, that print. Panning over here, I also just did a trim, if you can believe it, given this is what a tank looks like after a haircut. That's how much organized chaos I like to maintain in these tanks. I pull out a half a pound at least in each of these aquariums, and after an hour you can't even really tell. In this particular fish tank we have SB rasboras, those beautiful bronze colored jewels, and rummy nose rasboras. What a great combination, and look at those stunning colors. The males of the rummy nose rasbora are super beautiful, and the females, there's one there, are not. But the females, if you can believe it, are much, much harder to find, to source. I'm told those fish are not difficult to breed, and it would be a great project because even though the prices come down, they still can be $8 or $9 a piece. I have panda coreodoras down at the bottom, usually. There's 1, 2, I have about 8 of them. 3. I'm sure we could play Where's Waldo with the panda coreodoras. That wouldn't make for a great video though. I discovered some fun color morphs in my Neocaridina, like this white saddled one here. Maybe that's considered a flaw by purists, but it's kind of cool looking, huh? I've also got Ember tetras in here. Let's find one. There we go. Look at it, looking very pretty. A classic. A lot of professional aquascapers love to use that fish because it's so hardy, so inexpensive, and so beautiful. And it doesn't hide, it just kind of stays where you want it to. So when they're creating a tableau for a contest or something, that fish is easy to rely on. I've got Cryptocorn Wenti, looks like the green variety, these 2 plants. Heavy bogwood with some moss on it, and then epiphytes, Anubias, some Bucephalandra. There's a nice one right there. I think that's Godzilla or Kadang. A little bit of algae around the edge of the leaves. Cryptocorn balancea, that's a baby that I pulled from a mother plant that's growing within this leopard vallicin area. There's both kinds of plants in there. That's Pogostemon octopus, big old softball of it. Ostensibly it's planted in the ground, but I bet I could pull the whole thing out with one tug. And then some Rotala indica. Looks like pearlweed, doesn't grow as fast, and we'll get some red in the tips. It's cool how the moss forms. That banging, by the way, I live in a pre-war building in Chicago. Those are actually our radiators. They do that. Radiating heat is so wonderful for your skin. for sleeping and stuff. It's way better than a bunch of hot air being blown on you. But those old radiators in these old buildings, they will do that, and there's nothing really anyone can do about it. This is more pothos growing up and out and down. I run CO2 in this tank as well. That's the UNS Mini that I was talking about. Super easy to set up. This is a 5-gallon cylinder. That could last me at least a half a year, maybe longer in a tank like this. I've got an Awase Biomaster with the heater. This one has never given me issues. I do have the quick connects. These are from UNS, but Awase just came out with their own. It makes maintaining this canister or any canister exponentially easier. Cool piece of artwork framing this aquarium. There's one piece there and the other one there. And look, the pothos, I got it going through the statue or in repose, as well as the CO2 line. And this is a Twin Star light. Doesn't have an app, and I have it on a timer. It just goes off and on, so I don't have any gradation with that. This is the rack, all right? So big feature in the fish room. There's 4 aquariums here, 2 at the bottom. We'll start there just for shits and giggles. This is a super kind of organized chaos, maybe just more chaos of Java fern and moss. And I've got a group of celestial pearl danios, aka galaxy rasboras. This is a non-aquascape, aquascape, Java fern, hornwort, a ton of pothos. I just wanted to see what would happen if I did little or nothing. It's only powered by a sponge filter. It is heated with a nano heater, and this is what I called in a previous video the El Cheapo Magico tank. It's like a 5.5 gallon Petco special, and when they're having their sale, it's literally like $8. But it's performing really well for me, and I'm sure those fish are spawning. I just haven't. I wasn't gonna try and pull them out or anything, the babies. I was just gonna hope I see one day. Down here, as I called it, the partial blackwater tank, which is really now just sort of a planted tank with botanicals, but it does have some really fun features, like that intense downward tangle of roots from the emerged plants up here. That's a combination of the roots from this pothos as well as from the Brazilian pennywort, that plant right there. I think that totally mimics a blackwater environment and something these Bat and Happy neon tetras would discover in their own habitat. I also have a much more reclusive small group of licorice gouramis, and there's one right there. These fish are so cool in a system like this. They like a lot of plant cover or detritus, tannin infused water, softer water, low pH. And this tank has the lowest pH of all my aquariums because of the botanicals, the aqua soil, and the wood, and the fact that I'm using inert materials like petrified wood here, so nothing is affecting, like the stonework is not adding to the pH, which some rocks like quartz can do. Oh, there's my thermometer plug that's sticking out, ruining my aesthetic here. That's a dwarf tiger lotus right there. I just pulled some of the big ungainly leaves out. And then the cryptparva, what a fun feature. It's like a pseudo carpet, perfect example. It'll never get thicker in terms of not being able to see the bottom, but I think it's a pretty sexy feature. I like the way that works. And then the Anubias through the rockwork up and into the bogwood, where it will meet jungle veil, pennywort, frogbit, redroot floaters, some duckweed. Duckweed doesn't do well in here, and that's probably because of aspects of what I was doing vis-a-vis the partial blackwater, but I'm glad I don't have to deal with duckweed in this tank. There's also pygmy coreodoras, some autocinclus, and a bunch of shrimp. Different varieties of shrimp. There's another beautiful licorice gourami. You see how cool that is? And there's a female to the left and a male to the right. Perfect. You see the difference. It's pretty obvious here. Very cool. Look at that male. Kind of reminds me of a beta, like an alien beta. There's also some Morse code tetras in here, although I don't see any. I may have lost some of that population. And in hindsight, I wouldn't have put it in. I got plenty of fish with these neons. They were so tiny when I got them, but now they're big and fat and happy. There's a shrimp, probably an amano. What I was trying to say is I didn't need another species of fish in here. So the Morse code tetra is a pygmy coreodora. If you read about that fish, they will hang in the water column like a tetra. And there's a really cool, I don't know if that's a green or a jade shrimp or a bronze yellowback. Really cool. You see it on the leaf there? And then of course, the overall effect, like looking down from the shore into, you know, a little creek in the Amazon. I'd like to think that. By the way, I'm using this super cool small Landon canister filter. It's really small. Because I didn't want a ton of flow anyway, and I wanted to see this filter and have it look cool. And it comes with these great steel lily pipes, and the quick connectors came with all that at a really decent price point. I forget the number. UNS has now come out with its mini canisters, which are directly competing with something like that. And UNS is a brand I love, so I don't have that, but the Landon one's performing well for me. I just did a video on this aquarium, and now that I fixed the filter, you can see the flow. I was not getting consistent, nice flow like that, nor was it was spurting and bubbles, and man, it was making a lot of noise. Now it's whisper quiet. One of the concessions I had to make is I took out the lily pipes and the hoses, because Awaze's hoses are slightly different than the ones you might buy in your fish store. And so you kind of had to, it was tough fitting them to the Awaze filter. You can do it, and I did it, but it might have been one of the reasons I was getting some air into the system. Obviously these two, the inflow, outflow, are not pretty. I put a piece of pothos here to try to mitigate that, but they're working really well. And at this point, I generally see the aquarium like this, and if that pothos goes over it, I'm good. And at least with those, I don't have to clean the algae out from them like with a glass pipe. Or what I was using was the Aquaria plastic, because they're much safer, and there's some tension on the pipe, on the pipes, on account of I had to bend them over these ledges, and there's one like that in the back, and that created a tension against the glass. So I was always afraid if I used a glass lily pipe, it could snap. So I got the plastic Aqua Rio ones, and they worked fine. But like I said, the attachments, using a lily pipe with an Awaze filter, at least with the Aqua Rio, it wasn't a complete seamless fit. I had to do some pushing and working and, you know, whatever. I haven't completely figured out why I was getting noise, but I literally had a punch list of all the things, and I did all of them. Cut holes in the pre-filter intake, took out some of the media, rearranged the sponges, did everything, and it worked. Oh, by the way, Live Bears Deluxe, featuring red and black fish, swordtails, the German style, black swordtail with red piping, the iconic black mollies. There's a Siamese algae eater, and I've got various leertail, vealtail, platies, mollies, and swordtails in here, as well as some longfin white cloud mountain minnows, like these beautiful creatures. There's a jungle veil in the back creating a nice wall. Epiphytes, Anubias, along the dragonstone, which is horizontal here. The incredibly performing Blixa japonica, this plant here. Not easy to grow, but grows well for me in this tank. There's a whole bunch of blue Neocaridina. I don't always see that many. When I'm doing filter maintenance, I'll find babies in the canister, and they're all blue. I don't have any other color morphs in this aquarium. Water Sprite, I have it tucked down there, and it is growing. It mimics a stem or a tree, which is what I wanted. I didn't want any more floating plants than I already have, although you can float Water Sprite. I've got Brazilian pennywort, and then you see how the jungle veil, especially now that the flow is good, just cascades across, mimicking a river. And then my signature, everybody's signature, pothos on the outside of this aquarium. I do use CO2 in this tank, although of all my tanks, I bet this one would be relatively fine without it because of the plants, the amount of nutrients they get from all those fish. And there's no red plants in here, nothing that tricky. But I have the UNS here, and it's the dual. You see how it has 2 attachments? So one puts CO2 in here off the same regulator, and then the other puts CO2 in the 12-gallon bookshelf tank. And I've covered this aquarium extensively in the last couple videos, in these last couple weeks. But there's clown killifish, chili rasbora, a couple neon green rasboras, and some wild pencilfish in here, and Neocaridina out the wazoo, and various other invertebrates. It's a female clown and a male. The males get the signature rocket tail. And you see the red root floaters that aren't so red, but make this great softball bunch of plants with the rotala coming out of it and snaking along. Woo! So cool. And then this fabulous feature with the moss on a piece of wood that I literally laid across the aquarium. Up here is my collection of vintage aquarium stuff. So much fun. I mean, look at the crazy graphics of that child. Wow, wow. Wunderbar, it says. And then I love this from Metaframe. Just the graphics. Fortunately, I'm not old enough to remember seeing this in the stores. I'm not that old, but certainly the very second iteration I did. But I don't collect that. I collect something just slightly older than me. And these are some fun statuary, and then bubblers. There's the Penplex. These are all over the place. They still sell all this stuff. This is an old one, I think from like 77 or 74. There's a whole way to decide, there's a way to collect those based on, the years and the makes. And I have a lot of fun going to the Museum of Aquarium History and other places and learning about stuff like that from companies like Metaframe and Penplex. Search out that museum of, I think it's called the Museum of Aquarium Art. If you Google that, it's great. And this guy does 5-minute videos where he opens something crazy that people send him for the museum, either from the aquarium or the bird trade, pretty much, and cats and dogs, but they lean on the aquarium stuff. Down here, no aquariums, but you see the where I keep some supplies. I've got some cool old aquarium books, some of that fun Penplex stuff, old tropical fish manuals. I was in advertising, and the graphic arts just fascinate me. I mean, I collected movie posters as a kid and just love, and I did it for a living. Made propaganda using art and copy, and I just love, look at that typeface. Tropical fish, so cool, so iconic. There's a couple pieces of awesome bogwood that I use here and there to complement what I'm trying to do in this fish room. This is where I raise brine shrimp, right there, and you see that light. And then the bubbler is works off of the bubbler for the 5-gallon tank, and I have it snaking along the top of this rail, and I just plug it in when I to the top of this when I fill it with salt water and make baby brine shrimp. All right, I'm gonna end with a bang, right? As we go into my dining room, so not technically the fish room. There it is, the 135-gallon freshwater display tank. I've got Kessel lights, a bodacious sump below, and then so beautiful. I mean, when I sit here with my family having dinner, sometimes we hear sirens like that. This is Chicago after all, but what a great thing to look at. So far removed from when we used to watch TV. When I was growing up, we were allowed to watch Star Trek while we ate dinner. Well, this is more like 2,000 leagues under the, not sea, but the Amazon. It's impossible, especially on a tour video. I could do 25 minutes just on this tank, and you can see why. I've got rainbow fish, dwarf neon rainbows is that school up there. Bosemani rainbow fish right there is a beautiful male. These are millennium rainbow fish, like teacup size, beautiful rust orange colored. I've got 4 classic angelfish, this fat female here who has spawned in this tank with this male, beautiful veal tail. There's a nice black lace, and there's a yellow one too, being shy in the back there for whatever reason. You see him back there? Are you all right, buddy? I know they all eat. Obviously, that's what they want now, but usually he's more front and center. There he comes. No one's harassing anybody in this aquarium, which is unbelievably fortunate for me, given how much life is in here. There's a male albino, or no, a lemon blue eye. See the blue eye there? And if it was albino, that would be a white pink. Some of my plecos have spawned. I didn't know that. I've got a number of adults. There's a couple more right there. But I found some super little ones in here. And I didn't put super little ones in here. So they spawned. When I do update on this aquarium, and if you search the last one, I definitely cover that topic. There's a Brazilian ram down there. I have 4 of those. You see him? Hi, guy. No problems with the cichlids, the angelfish and the rams. They don't bother each other at all. They occupy different parts of the water column. Look at those harlequin rasboras and the cardinal tetras. That's what you want, right? If I only had small fish, I could have 100 of each of those in this tank, and that would be pretty cool. As it is, I've got about 15 of each of them. I've got a few fun live bears in here. Like, look at that beautiful swordtail with the exotic finnage. I've got 3, maybe. There, let me find this other one, the stunner. Come on, don't do that. There he is, look. How cool is that? And obviously the opaline gouramis. That mottled pattern, a little bit of orange coming through, the shimmer, the great finnage. Such a common fish. You go to Petco and you'll see them. They look kind of forlorn in their little display tanks, but you give them the right environment and they're showstoppers like these 2. I've got Correadoras in here. I see one tucking in the back there. That's a normal looking bronze, but I've got Sterbai and Adolphe Correadora. And I've got some of these exotic Farawala catfish. Look at that dinosaur. And honestly, I found a couple small ones of those, and they're not that difficult to breed. And I had a couple adults in here, and I could be crazy and have bought one and don't remember it, but I saw a really small one in there. Anything could happen in this hobby, especially when you have tons of plants like I do, and You try to keep things really at the best condition you're capable of. Even though I don't breed for any intent, or certainly not for profit, it can and does happen. And even with tons of other fish, potential predators, when you have all this growth, the Darwinian principle of the survival of the fittest, the few that can escape these rainbow fish and these angelfish, they'll grow up to be the best ones anyway, as they would in the wild. This fun Molly has some gold in her, gold dust Molly. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. I hope you stayed to the finish. And as always, keep your hands in the tank and ciao for now.